You are cordially invited to a ball celebrating the accomplishments of Andrew Handbridge. But beware, there are undead pirates and a dangerous bee flying about. Welcome back to the Land of Magic. Reach out, and our after show will begin. It's the Little Witch Academia after show, and it starts right now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, Afterbuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Little Witch Academia after show right here on Afterbuzz TV. I'm one of your hosts, the internet's Mark B. Donica. You can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica, and break it down. Joining me this week is Rachel Goodman.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rach Goodman or on Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman.
Yes, Stacey Shuttleworth's not joining us today. She's a little bit under the weather. Make sure to send her some get well messages at Stacey Shuttles. But we've got two big episodes to talk about today: Undead Travelogue and Bee Affection. Wow, some people in the chat have already been talking about how episode 10 was their favorite from early on. I guess we can see how that is, especially for our wayward shippers.
As soon as I started watching it, I was like, okay, I get it. And honestly, I think it's probably my favorite episode of the series so far. Of course, I keep saying this is my favorite episode, and then we see a different one, and that becomes my favorite. But I think 10 is going to have a lasting impression on me.
We've got 3 episodes left before the mid-season break, and you know what? I'm just open to more surprises. I've just stopped calling episodes my favorite, and once we have a better scope of this first half of the season, probably be a little bit better in deciding which one's the favorite. But I totally understand why you would do that. All right, so let's get to the first episode, Undead Travelogue. We're going on a field trip. The girls are, for some reason, it's different when it's everybody, like, okay, this group will be going out into the real world, but it was different than when we saw it earlier in the season when there was like a checkout, but maybe the girls breaking out instituted a new way of letting people go out. But when first watching this, what did you think was going to happen when it was, the girls are going back out into the world and they can't use magic?
So the first thing was the fact that they had to leave an item behind and they made such a big deal about it. I was thinking that they were going to come back pretty quickly and that they were going to make a big deal because the items got stolen or something. That was where I thought the episode was going. So when we actually saw them go out and find this guy and bring him back to life, that is definitely not what I expected. But when it all came back to the items and we got to the principal's item, then I understood why they made such a big deal about it in the beginning. Yeah,
so technically you were right, and one of the items did get, quote, stolen because it was returned to its proper place. But yeah, I thought with it being made a big deal about the Shiny Chariot card, I thought that Akko was going to be a little bit in trouble because it always, especially the series has taught us at this point to be trained that these cards mean something more than just a collector's item.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe something like that, maybe not. It turns out Susie just wanted to go to the cemetery, pick up a mushroom. Yeah. That's our girl. That's our Susie.
Especially after last episode, I was like, of course, mushrooms, they're back. Why not?
I mean, how does she not have every mushroom? Well, I guess that was a dream at that point. But maybe, I don't know. It always goes back to mushrooms with Susie. Yeah. But it turned out Akko just brought potions. She needs to practice. Ursula keeps teaching her how to up her magic game, and she brought a potion just in case if she had an option to use it. And now I understand that they're little girls, and I understand that tombstones are heavy or can be heavy, but really you needed to use a potion to put a tombstone back up?
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd too, but I did think it was really funny how they were like, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, what is going to happen? Something bad. And Akko just jumped into that, just like she jumped into everything else. And yeah. I was like, oh, what is she about to do to them now?
So we get this wonderful, undead, seemingly pirate captain brought back to life from the cemetery. And he's just on a tear. He's out for revenge. It's all about revenge. I'm going to find this person, and I'm going to make them pay for what they've done. He's fast for an old bugger.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
I have to say, though, he's one of my favorite characters on the show. Even though he only had that one episode, he had me, like, dying in hysterics the whole time.
He just, like, one-track mind, unfinished business. It comes back to that sort of a thing. But it becomes a journey to recapture this pirate captain so that they don't get in trouble. Nobody finds them. But Susie lets her know, it'll probably wear off by sundown. So we got nothing to worry about. And then they just start hearing screams and follow that all around the city. And again, Susie knocking it out of the park. When they make it into the main square and Akko is trying to fight him, trying to get him back together, they create a big circle, and she means, no, this is our act. It's about a young girl and a pirate captain. We accept donations, and immediately just give us your money.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was genius. She's like, yeah, we're gonna make a profit off of this if we're gonna have to deal with the situation. And people actually were giving them money, like it was an act. And I have to say, it was definitely. I love how the girls support each other, even when they get into these crazy, ridiculous situations.
Well, yeah. To be sure, they're one of the best teams in the animated world, because it's just. They have a complete understanding of each other and go, this is how far that person's willing to go, and where I need to make up for that and make this better. There just a lot happened in such a short amount of time. I was hoping that the money would come back into play in some way. Like, well, I guess it did. I guess Susie bought a drink at the bar with it. And maybe she bought a rent for everybody, and that's what it was, and that's why they were so happy. It's like, it's all on him.
I love how she was in a bar in the first place, and no one was even questioning it. I mean, I know rules might be different over there, but just the fact that she's, probably like 11, 12, and they're, yeah.
She knows her way around a bar, that's fine.
Yeah.
But some of the interesting stuff that we got from... One of my favorite things about both of these episodes is it seems like it was just, fun mishap of the week. But interspersed between all of that was plot and overworld development, with a couple of things that our skeleton friend was saying, things of witches are the pride of mankind, the symbol of wisdom. And they talk... Was it in this episode? Yeah, where they talk about the golden age of witchcraft between the Salem witch trials and the Industrial Revolution, where witchcraft became a lot more common in the regular world, in the real world.
And actually, that to me was probably my favorite part of the episode, when they were describing the history, and they even kind of showed us a little glimpse of that past. And yeah, even though that wasn't the focus of the episode, it was definitely a very interesting piece of background information that we're starting to see here, especially compared with how everything is for them now in the modern time.
Yeah. And especially... I really like the shop owner. We've seen him. I think this is our fourth time seeing him at this point, and now he's becoming a regular side character. And just how sort of banal he treats the magical world, and how regular, and not necessarily like, oh, this is the most fantastic thing in the world. It's like, yeah, we got the Cinderella kit. There's the golden age. You not pay attention in class? Come on. Yeah. And that, I think I would like to see more people in the real world that have that sort of a reaction to magic, where it's just a regular part of their life, instead of the Handbridge families of the world. What was your favorite part of all of the antics that they got in together with the skeleton?
I think honestly the town piece where he was like running around and trying to like basically slice anyone he came into contact with, but I think my absolute favorite was when he was digging through the garbage can and the cops came over and they were like, who is this? And then finally, I think it was Lotta.
It was Lotta, yeah.
Yeah, she came up and she was like, this is my grandfather. And they were trying to hide his face. And the cops were like, yeah, your grandfather, right.
Whatever. Hey, man, if we don't have to do paperwork, that's fine. Just make sure he doesn't tear anybody up.
Contain your crazy grandfather.
It's a part of his condition.
Yeah.
But in the magic shop, we also find a picture of the address, or the people at the address that our skeleton friend was looking for, and he recognizes the people in the picture. No, her. I'm looking for her, Miranda. I need to get revenge on her father for abandoning her and sending her off to the world of magic and just leaving her there.
And that's honestly, when I saw that painting and I saw the guy in the painting and Miranda and everything, that's when it clicked for me that he was hating himself and that he had done something bad to, or perceived that he had done something bad to his daughter. And that's what this problem was. And that's why he was, you know, I guess going around doing all this haunting, sort of.
Well, it was haunting.
Yeah.
For me, that's when I realized that the baby, that Miranda was the principal. So that pulled my focus immediately. It was like, oh, that's 100% the principal. And that's where I was like, oh, I wonder that. I guess that pulled me from being able to realize that was her dad. But when we get to the clock tower and hearing it ring, that makes him realize, oh, it's me. I'm a terrible person. Oh God.
I hate myself.
Yeah, seemingly killing him, like wanting to kill himself and die again. But the girls go, you know what? No, we're gonna make this happen. And they take the bell all the way back to Luna Nova, and Miranda and her father end up meeting, and it's a beautiful moment of our principal going, you know what? I don't resent you at all. I became principal of this wonderful school that I fell in love with, and it was whew.
And that's what I love about this show so much. It goes back between silliness, and then you get those touching moments, like with Miranda and her father speaking, and just that whole scene. Even after that, when he kind of like disappears and goes off, and just seeing the witch's reaction to it too. It's like these are little girls that probably don't have a lot of experience with death, and them seeing this, it's like, it's like I wonder what they're thinking about all this. But it was just a really touching moment. Yeah,
and getting a chance to see that he and his wife, since they're now in the same quote resting place, are reunited in the afterlife. That was a really touching moment. But again, with one of these lines, blessings upon the future of witches, and getting the tease about the Golden Age makes me think that we're about to get into the Silver Age, especially with some of the reactions that we got from the Hambridge family in our next episode. But before we get to the next episode, this episode ends with them having to fix all of the brooms. That's not so bad. I thought we were gonna die, and then you just see this giant chasm of broken brooms, and now they have to think about what they've done. They end up arguing about what their purpose of magic is, and it's nice. It's just cute.
Yeah. I think they even made a comment like, I think this is going to take us our entire lives to finish.
I mean, if they could use magic, it'd probably be a lot better, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
You gotta think about what you did sometimes. Think about the repercussions.
And I love how the principal was even like, well, you guys are still learning. Yeah. So it's at this point, at first when we met her, she seemed a little more strict, but I feel like now she's starting to loosen up a little bit and give them, even though she's giving them punishments, she's not thinking, oh, we need to expel these girls. I think she's realizing that they are just little and they're learning, and it's all part of their journey.
They're still first years.
Yeah.
And ultimately there are lessons in mistakes as well. So even though it broke the law, I'm surprised that there were no repercussions of them taking the money. I know that was just like sort of a one-off joke, and I keep going back on it, but
and of course it was Susie.
Yeah. Eastman in the chat is saying Susie's sneeze was adorable. Do you think that she was getting like choked up or emotional, or that she was legitimately sneezing on old man dust?
No, I think she was getting choked up. I think she just does not want to admit anytime she's emotional, and I think that was a moment.
And that Susie is currently going to be executed back in Susie's subconscious.
She'll be gone.
Anything else that you want to talk about from Undead Travelogue? Or did we pretty much cover everything?
I think we covered everything, yeah.
All right. So then let's move. But before we move on to the next episode, we want to talk to you about iTunes. Now, iTunes helps us stay in the going conversation when it comes to anime podcasts on iTunes. So we really appreciate your support by heading down and leaving a review. If you're in a foreign country, your iTunes review will still appear on our podcast, but because of certain restrictions, we may not be able to see it. So if you are in another country and leave a review, take a screenshot and leave it in the hashtag ABTVLWA, and that way we'll be able to read it on the air. Thank you so much to everybody who has sent a review. We've got a couple new ones this week from Miss K. Rose. More anime on Afterbuzz. Heck yeah. I love the Yuri on Ice and the Ruby, because it's an anime, fight me, after shows, and I'm super glad we're getting a Little Witch after show. I love that the hosts are also fans of the show, and it really comes through. Mark, Stacy, and friends are doing an awesome job, and I'm enjoying the show. Thank you, Miss K. Rose. Humbly appreciate it. Heroes Paradise says, excellent. I usually watch the show on YouTube, but you need reviews here, so here I am. See? That's what we're talking about. I really like how everyone is being explorative in their predictions and assessments. I also like that they know about the OVA and movie and love them as much as myself. My only gripe on the YouTube side is that the video quality could definitely be better and some better sound quality. Otherwise, excellent show. Keep up the good work. We need those notes too. If you have any notes about the technical side, us reading these on the air allows our engineers and our producers to know certain issues that may pop up so that we can better capture them and make a better product for you, the listener and or the viewer. Oh boy. Let's talk about Bee Affection.
Yes, I loved this episode.
There was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it says it was Susie getting an enchanted Cupid bee instead of a poison bee. Aww. Yeah, but
I love how there was a but to that too. Like it wasn't just that she ordered a Cupid bee. It was that the one that she actually wanted was not in stock, or they sent her the wrong one. Or,
that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Amazon messes up. Magical Amazon.
Yeah.
So it sort of works like Cupid's arrow, where if you get stung, the first person that you see, you fall head over heels in love with. Now, upon hearing that, it's kind of, it's like, oh, okay. And I immediately thought, oh, maybe Andrew's going to be in this episode. And then our girls show up, Hannah and Barbara, dressed to the nines, all gussied up. They were invited to Andrew's house. Well, I should say, Diana was invited to Andrew's house, and they're coming along to celebrate some achievement. Whatever, who cares? We're going to Andrew's house. And there we have our plot immediately. And it could work however we want in our heads. So once we know, or by the time we get to the, first of all, before we get to the intro, Diana steps out of the car looking like Cinderella, but he's like,
yeah, she looked so miserable.
yeah, I don't want to do this. This is interfering with my studying. We're going to leave early. Let's just go make an appearance and leave. Yeah. You totally know. Like, everybody's had parties like that, or things where it's like, oh, come on, but my aunt invited me, or it was my cousin, my friend, whatever. It's like, okay, we'll stay for like an hour or so.
Plus, she clearly does not like Andrew.
Oh yeah, very evident from this episode and when we first meet them re-meeting. This, of course, everything makes Akko jealous, and she decides that they're all going to the party. Too headstrong for her own good. So now that we know Akko is going to try to make her, and the girls are going to try to make their way into the party. We have this love bee. Before we talk about what actually happened, what did you think was going to happen in this episode?
So I knew the bee was going to come into play.
Sure.
I figured it was going to sting Andrew, and he was going to see Akko, and that would be it. And I didn't understand the parameters. I didn't think the bee would keep stinging. I thought it was going to be a one and done. And then Andrew, the whole plot was going to be them trying to get Andrew out of the spell, and it was going to go crazy from there. Mm-hmm. I also didn't expect the Cinderella aspect of it when they went into the shop again. And I have to say that one of my favorite lines in the whole episode is when they were doing that spell.
They messed up Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
But then Susie was like, buh.
Buh?
like in her typical, like very... like just Susie voice.
Mm-hmm. So they get a Cinderella set, which used to be very popular in the magic community, and they get a Snow White set for free. Hope that comes back into play sometime when they have to talk to woodland creatures or something. And Akko could use that as a part of her animal languages to learn bird languages. Interesting. But when they fail so miserably at Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, which seems so easy to us, but who knows? We were also raised on it, which I think was a fun way of acknowledging Disney without having to pay the copyright fee.
Yeah.
Because they didn't say the spell. They said it completely wrong, which, do you think that them saying the spell wrong is what led for them to get a bike, a 3-person bike instead of a chariot or a carriage, and that Akko was wearing Cinderella's dress before the ball instead of the beautiful one that it turns into?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't even know what they could have changed the spell on purpose. Not them, but whoever wrote the spell and gave it to them. It could have just been that it was a different spell, the way that it was translated from Japanese, and it just didn't.
That's also
come across.
to go with how they pronounced it and their reticence of like, are we saying it right? Sort of a thing is what makes me think that they didn't do the spell correctly.
But you're right, though. Her dress didn't look like a Cinderella dress at all. But it's almost like she thought it did. So they didn't even question what happened.
So at least in the Disney movie, Cinderella takes her mother's gown and makes it up and it's a pink dress with a lot of bows. So the fact that it wasn't the dress and after it got torn, the dress that it turned into in the Disney movie, the beautiful blue gown, but for Akko, it turned into the pink one instead, is another thing that makes me think, well, one, I watch too many cartoons, and two, that maybe they messed up the spell to a point where she was wearing the wrong dress, but she was like, I don't care. I'm going to take this big old thing and we're going.
I love how Susie, though, when everything was said and done, she was still in like a witch's dress.
Well, she nailed her part of the spell, so it was perfect for her.
Buh. I love that line.
Okay, Miraculous Corazon in chat. I'm not gonna lie, part of me wanted Akko to wear the bunny suit just to see what Andrew's reaction would have been.
That would have been amazing.
that would have been silly if it was like a masquerade. Maybe that would have been a way to go. But oy vey. And then as they're trying to sneak in,
yeah, this is hilarious.
So we're on our bike. We're seeing carriages enter, and the Cinderella story features animals being turned into footmen and drivers and all of that. So did you think that she was going to turn that into a person, and they were going to properly enter the thing?
I didn't think that. I thought as soon as I saw the squirrel or whatever, I think it was a squirrel.
It was a squirrel.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no, they aren't. They are. And yeah. No, I kind of guessed they were going to do something crazy like that.
That's Akko.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think because especially it looked like everyone actually had a physical invitation, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to get that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, they're going to do something that distracts the guards so they can get into that party.
And get in the party they did. A giant squirrel attacks the entryway, and for some reason, they don't just evacuate the whole place. No, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
That never reaches the inner party.
I was wondering about that because everyone was screaming, but everyone was still inside. It was just the people outside screaming and running.
You'd be surprised. An orchestra in person is really loud, so it probably drowned out all of the noise from outside. Akko ends up seeing Andrew across the room with a group of yes people, and she's like, oh, good, this guy. But then she starts seeing Andrew and Diana and we can hear what they say, but she doesn't hear what they say, and the other girl's like, oh, don't they look so cute together? Akko's not pleased. What do you think was going through her mind seeing the two of them talk?
I think she does like Andrew, and I think she's just really super jealous, but she's at that age where she doesn't realize it. So it's like I don't even think she realizes how she's feeling, but she was definitely jealous.
To be sure. And it's at this moment when Diana sees Akko across the room, and it's not accusatory. It's very much level-headed Diana again, but gives us a what do you think you're doing here?
Yeah.
And knowing or thinking we don't think that Diana is all bad, and they're trying to present her as all bad, and Hannah and Barbara are not helping her case whatsoever. Like, how did you get in here? But what do you think was behind Diana's questioning of Akko?
I think she was just really concerned, not so much that I think she was concerned that the father was going to react negatively to it, because she probably understood that Akko, she probably knows the father doesn't like magic. She knows Andrew doesn't. So it probably came off like she was being a little nasty toward Akko, but in the reality, she was probably more concerned, and it just came off like that because of who Diana is.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Knowing how, well, maybe not how anti-magic, but how Andrew thinks and the family thinks of magic. probably a little bit of concern for her friend. Like, yeah, this is it's already a big deal that I'm here. Doubling the amount of witch folk that are here, probably not the best idea.
Yeah. Plus, she knows how Akko can get.
Yeah.
So the chances of trouble happening are very high. So she probably was worried for that too.
Yeah, and how it would all of this will probably make it back to her parents, and she was there probably for as little as she was already planning to be there. It seems like, yeah, I'm gonna be in a lot of trouble, and let's make sure everybody gets out of this as unscathed as possible.
And chances are she wasn't even supposed to bring Hannah or Barbara either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just maybe she was worried for that. And
now Susie's the devil. She was dressed very appropriately at this. She releases the bee as Andrew is about to kick Akko and her friends out. Sting and all of the Team Anko people are rejoicing because Andrew became ridiculously head over heels in love with Akko, like gross. And you mentioned before we went live that you started watching Uran Host Club, and it's like the opposite of that. It's like how the members of the host club present themselves, but how everybody sees the object of their affection as just this glowing, glistening light of a remarkable person. It was weird.
Yeah.
Like at first it was like, this is weird, and then they made it even more bizarre and like, this isn't normal, don't worry.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like every single time that bee stung and that person saw someone else, including when Diana saw herself.
I mean, we're skipping a little bit ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
But I like how we immediately see that Frank isn't alone. That Andrew's got a whole crew of people like, come on, it's a party. Let's have some fun. And all of those people get stung and fall in love with Lotte. Good for her.
Yeah.
She needs some attention. I mean, I would say also, who knows what's in those Nightfall books? And what sort of idea. I mean,
and it's very, the story itself, Nightfall, seems like has like a very romantic element to it.
Sure.
So she probably has this preconceived idea of what romance is. So having all those guys doting on her probably was an interesting experience for her.
Yeah. And now, what did you think of the how forward? I mean, this was due to a spell, so people were acting out of their normal head, but the forward nature in which Andrew was doting upon Akko in the room.
I thought he was a little inconsistent. So in the beginning, he's very forward, which I thought made sense considering he was under a spell. But then when she sees him again out by the fountain, he kind of sounded more like himself. I was even wondering if he was still under the spell at that point, even though the bee hadn't been swatted.
Yeah.
So I thought it was inconsistent. I thought he would have been acting a little more over the top as the episode progressed. But in the beginning, I thought it was very appropriate.
I think that also speaks to how overbearing his father is, though. And we'll get back to the fountain. You keep skipping ahead.
Sorry.
You're excited. I get it. That's all right. But Akko and Susie run the hell away. That's where we get the magical fly swatter introduced, leaving poor Lotte alone. And as they're running away, we see Diana and the other girls running in, and Diana gets stung and falls in love with Akko as well. And it's just a fun little moment where we get to see her doting upon Akko.
I loved how it wasn't even like the others where the person was already there. It was like she got stung, and then all of a sudden we knew where Akko was, and then she comes running out of the columns, and that's when it happens.
And I was wondering if they were going to do a double turn and have it be Susie that she sees first instead of Akko.
That would
and
have been
have
interesting.
That weird relationship happen. But this was a shipper's paradise. Seriously. But that, like, once Diana got stung, I was wondering what direction they were going to go for it. Kind of happy that we got at least a little bit more of Diana's character, even though this isn't necessarily her and how she really feels, though we'll never know. Though we may never know. It was fun just to see that version of her character, because she's always been, the best way to describe it is selfish, but not like grossly selfish. She's been very much to herself.
Yeah, she's very you would never really know what she was actually thinking or what she was feeling. Not in the same way as Susie, but kind of like Susie, just in a different sort of way.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting too, because after she got stung and was saying all these things to Akko, she walked away and said, "Look what you're making me say." Like, even though she was stung, a part of her still realized what was happening to her.
Yeah, she saw the bee and went, "Oh, it's an enchanted Cupid bee." Like, she's just a nerd. She's the biggest nerd. Good for her. Ends up running away, but Akko overhears Andrew talking to his dad, talking about the world doesn't need witches, and there's no place for them in their world, and that Andrew should have no time for frivolous things, including music. That's why you don't play music anymore. You don't need music. This is the town of Footloose. But Akko confronts him and is like, I guess you don't need witches anymore, you big old weirdo. Now you were talking about this scene already. And Akko legitimate, like, I think one of the my favorite things about Akko's character is that she feels so strongly about magic that it doesn't matter what's happening in the scene, if it's whatever. If it's something involving magic, and somebody has a negative opinion on it, she has to share that opinion. You know?
Yeah, and she's very she's always got a very positive outlook on it too, especially in the situation with Andrew at the fountain, when he was basically saying that he has to listen to his father. And Akko was trying to take the devil's advocate and tell him that he should follow his own dreams. And that was another big thing too, is that it's so clear that she's not afraid. Like, if anything, she does things based off of how she's feeling before she even has a chance to think about it. Whereas Andrew's the exact opposite. He thinks about it a lot and tries to please his father and doesn't just jump into anything. So I feel like she's a really good person for him to kind of break him out of that so they can find a balance.
Yeah, and I also was kind of hoping that the spell was broken at that point, because she goes, you're beautiful, and that's not necessarily you look beautiful, but your worldview, how you see things. And I think maybe it's a sort of a thing where when the bee stings you, that's where it's at its most potent. And then it starts to wear off a little bit. And dealing with his dad helped that come down even more, because at least he was acting respectable to her at this point. Akko runs off chasing the bee, but he goes, no, check it out. It's this sweet show, and plays the piano, as we were just told that he hasn't played the piano in years, and plays Flight of the Bumblebee, which isn't easy. That's hard as hell.
Yeah, it was incredible. And it didn't feel like he was under the spell at that point. And I kind of think that might, what you were saying about the spell kind of wearing off when he called her beautiful and how he was acting right before he started playing the piano. It felt like that was truly him, even if those are things he may not admit when he's not under the spell. It felt like it was the truth. And I really loved that moment. And I loved how he came in and spared her the humiliation of the dad, trying to kick her out and all that. Especially as he started to play, and just watching her go after the bee too was pretty interesting, because she was almost trying to catch it to the music. And then when she climbed up and was on the railing, I was like, wow. That's
an amazing balance.
Yeah.
Good for you, girl. And the bee ends up stinging her. Laura, what is it? Is he a duke or what? Whatever. Mr. Handbridge. And he falls in love with Akko. He's like, okay, this is about to get really weird real fast. And then swats the bee. I was like, oh, thank God. But during the chase, essentially everybody gets stung. There's dudes liking dudes liking guys, girls liking dogs, Diana loving herself. Which was the best? And then you want to talk about truth.
Oh, yeah.
I think that gave a little bit of... that, again, gave a little bit more insight into what fans think. Like, I think this was very much like they got into a rhythm of writing episodes and went, okay, by this point the fans are going to be thinking this, wanting this, and doing this. Maybe they didn't think that too far into it, but maybe this is a way to make you think about Diana in a certain way, and then they're about to flip the script on us in the rest of the season. Maybe.
And I think she's a character who has a lot of gray areas too. So even though she has this moment, and obviously it was a spell, so she doesn't really love herself, maybe there is a part of her who does, and it's a little too much. But at the same time, it's really, we saw like a very different Diana because she just let it all out, and we saw more of her emotions than we've ever seen before in any other episode.
Yeah, and it's just good to see her emote. Because in the OVAs, we only see so much of her. But after this, the spell is broken, and Lotte looks really distraught because she had all of this attention all at once, and then it was gone. And boy, was I happy when it's like, excuse me. And
Frank, me too.
Frank's like, hey, did you want to go like a library? Anywhere you want to go? 'Cause I just think we'll get along together.
I was so surprised but happy at the same time.
Because Frank seemed like such a shallow dude.
Yeah. But maybe he's not. Maybe his outward appearance is completely different than who he is. I mean, the fact that he is still interested in someone that, you know, all the other guys were like, oh, goodbye, like, that says a lot about him.
Cute girls to this party.
Yeah, and Frank's like, hey, can I have your number? Let's go to the library.
The last person that I expected to come out of this episode really liking was Frank.
Me too. Oh, and that was a really nice twist.
Yeah, and then even when the girls are back at the school, she's like, oh, I said no, thank you. I didn't want to do that without having some feelings myself. So we're just gonna be friends, which is such a wonderful way to do it.
It's so mature too.
Yeah.
Who would think that someone her age would, react that way and handle it on that level? But that's just great that she could do that and they could be friends and, eventually maybe when they're older.
Yeah, maybe. And originally, so we were talking a little bit before the show. One of my things about this franchise and about this world that I was a little bit afraid of happening once Andrew got introduced and the way that his episode played out, his first episode played out, was that this was good. Like this is going to be a show about girls liking boys, and that sort of a thing is like, oh, but this was so innocent. It was just kids going to school and having a nice time. And ultimately, I came around to realize that this is a part of growing up too. Akko doesn't know, like, it's not just like a regular love story where it's like, and now they're betrothed and they're gonna fall in love. But it's more of a thing where Akko doesn't know how she feels about anything, really. Like, she just knows how she feels about magic, and that's just the most pure emotion that she's had. And now in the Susie episode, or both in Susie and Lotte's episodes, we learned how they've been feeling for a certain amount of time and how that affects how they feel now. And this was a good indicator of things to come. And it's still innocent. That was one of the things, is that it wasn't going to be innocent anymore.
And even with Andrew, we did get something out of him.
Mm-hmm.
He did kind of, based on Frank's observations, he was like, well, you're intrigued by this girl then, right? And Andrew didn't say no. So, yeah. But still, I love how they're treating this in every situation, because they are just kids, and realistically this is probably how it would go down. It wouldn't be like love at first sight and people jumping into relationships and declaring their love.
Really quick, what other was there anything else that we didn't talk about from this episode that you wanted to talk about?
I think we hit on everything that I wanted to say. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna bring up not our show, but Little Witch really quickly, because somebody brought up, look at what he's reading. And I couldn't tell because I was watching it on my phone. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, load, stop talking. Stop looking, wait. Dang it. Yeah, it's too small. I can't tell what he's reading.
The scene with Andrew.
Oh, he was reading 1984.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
What a jerk. Yeah. All right. Cool. I guess he's reading 1984.
Yeah. That was Andrew, right?
Yeah, that was
with
Andrew.
the book,
Andrew.
yeah.
Who reads 1984 after a party? What a weirdo. I mean, I know the. Have you read 1984?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have,
So
yeah.
it's like, okay,
It's like, I wonder what they were trying to say.
maybe that he's a little bit more of an abstract thinker, but you don't read that book for fun, do you? It's so
Some
heavy.
people might.
Some people might.
He might.
Andrew's the person who read 1984 for fun. All right, so did pretty well. So before we get going, you don't have to play the cue, but do you have any predictions for 11 and 12?
I don't think we're going to see Andrew or the guys because maybe the finale. That's my prediction for that. But I think 11 and 12, we're going to get away from that. I think we might start to see more with what's going on with Ursula and how she's related, because I still think she somehow either is or is related to Chariot.
How about that?
And I haven't seen the OVAs. This is just from watching.
Oh, they don't reveal it in the OVAs either, but they do their own version of hinting at her relationship with Chariot. Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my prediction.
Sacred.
And I know.
You go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is just the midway point, though, right? So we may not see anything huge.
Yeah.
But that's my prediction.
Yeah. We were sort of introduced to the idea that Andrew, while respecting his father, isn't going to be like his father, and I hope that he keeps going into the direction of wanting to learn about why magic should be special in this day and age, and Akko is definitely somebody that intrigues him. I don't want Akko to change our sweet cinnamon roll. But I think we're going to get another card spell within the next couple of episodes. And I hope we get more class and a little bit more of... Even we got a bit of it in the cram session, in the episode with Professor Blub, with Professor Pisces. But I hope we get more of just a regular session with Akko and Ursula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for more of this show. So excited that we're going to watch some right now. So make sure to come back at 4 p.m. We're going to be talking about episodes 11 and 12 of Season 1 of Little Witch Academia, available on Netflix. So make sure to come back then. Tell your friends, if you have anybody that is currently watching the show, have them come along. And thank you to everybody who has not spoiled anything in the show so far. We are watching it very unfortunately by watching episode by episode instead of just binging the whole thing. But we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. Rachel, where can folks find you? What other shows are you on, etc.?
I am, people can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rach Goodman. I'm also on the Young and the Restless Afterbuzz show. And later tonight, I'll be doing Gypsy with a couple other people. So be sure to check it out.
When did you join YNR?
Oh, maybe like 4 weeks ago.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Geez. Shows where my brain is on Sundays. And I'm the internet's Mark B. Donica. You can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica. Check out all of our other anime and animation content. We did a show for Yuri on Ice. We do a show for Ruby. We did a show for Attack on Titan. And, I mean, those are way too long in the past to mention those. But also, like, Steven Universe, Voltron, Bob's Burgers. We love animation here at the Afterbuzz TV studios, and we would love to do more. So please leave us a review on iTunes or a comment down below. Also, check out Popcorn Talk later tonight. We're going to be doing our video game show Inventory Full that I'm a part of, and Stacey's a part of. It's a great show. We have a lot of fun here. Thank you for joining us on the Little Witch Academia After Show, and we will see you at Luna Nova.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Afterbuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the Afterbuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterbuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of Afterbuzz TV.
What?
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.